So I put a video out. I mean, I've been speaking a lot about McLaren's rear wing. Obviously, they have the so-called Mini-DRS, the magic wing, the passive DRS, whatever you want to call it. Something that has been the source of massive controversy since the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now, I actually said recently that, you know, the FIA won't really do anything in terms of actually banning it or forcing McLaren to make modifications to it until next year. But as usual, I know nothing about Formula 1 as it turns out, because according to Jonathan Noble at autosport.com, they've been forced to modify their rear wing after the FIA have requested them to do so. So I'm just going to read out. Actually, I had to restart the article. I had to reload it because the pop-up ad got me, believe it or not. Autosport, sort your website out, man. What is going on there? Anyway, I'm glad you've put this article on here because I'm going to read from it now. Second time's the job. McLaren is to modify its rear wing design after being asked by the FIA in wake of the controversy surrounding its Mini-DRS system. With rival teams questioning the legality of the McLaren rear wing after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, as the upper element appeared to rotate back to open up a slot in the, well, basically a gap in the rear wing. That's essentially what it is. I've already gone into how it works and everything. Absolutely ingenious by McLaren. It seems like it might not be totally legal anymore though. Although there are no doubts that this wing fully complies with the current regulations and passes all the static tests, the FIA has requested changes to be made. Interesting, okay. While McLaren will still be allowed to use the exact low drag wing that it raced in Baku on the type of tracks it's designed for, it has been told that it needs to make alterations that will prevent the upper element flexing in the manner it has. Okay. I'm confused by this. Let's see if it elaborates a bit more. A McLaren statement on the topic read, whilst our Baku ring complies with the regulations and passes all FIA deflection tests, McLaren have proactively offered to make some minor adjustments to the wing following our conversations with the FIA. We would also expect the FIA to have similar conversations with other teams in relation to the compliance of their rear wings. Although the demands of the FIA regulations purely relate to wings passing static load tests, there are other aspects to the wing behaviour that count in terms of legality. These have been made clear in a long-standing technical directive to teams. It states that while it is natural for parts to flex when exposed to increased aero load, the FIA does not deem components that are deliberately designed to move in a specific manner. So essentially they can't have like an active aerodynamics, another DRS of some kind. Basically it can't be deliberate. It can't be like an F duct or something like that. Look at what the F duct was. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point, guys. That was an interesting innovation by Lex and McLaren back in the day as well. In TD34, Technical Directive 34, the FIA states that it does not consider legal designs whose structures characteristics are altered by secondary parameters so as to produce, while running at the track, a different deflection characteristic than when stationary during the FIA checks. Examples of secondary parameters could be temperature, aerodynamics, load, etc. The FIA's decision to ask McLaren to modify its rear wing came in the wake of some unease from rival teams over what the design is doing. While the FIA has previously brushed away team concerns about flexible front wings, it had left the door open for taking action about what was happening at the rear. This will ease concerns from teams that if the McLaren design was given the all clear, then it could open an arms race to teams to further exploit the regulations. One team boss told Autosport, aero elasticity is a factor for many, many years now. Even if a wing passes the FIA test, the regulations remain very clear. The component cannot be designed to flex. But how do you prove that? How do you prove that something is designed to flex? Unless you get like the original engineering drawings and it's made abundantly clear that, you know, that's what they're wanting to do. Or if it's just a happy accident, for lack of a better term, you know, just a coincidence, just like, oh, it turns out it does this. You know, back in the day with the fan car, for example, you know, they claimed that was, you know, not to increase downforce, that was just a side effect to what was going on, which was an absolute load of rubbish, of course, but that is what they argued. We rely on the FIA to say, okay, what are the boundaries of that? Of course, everything will flex to a certain degree, but what is acceptable and what is not? And that is not what's really defined by the FIA and their regulations, as far as I can tell. And again, like I've said in a few videos, I have been through the regulations. If I've missed something, please tell me, but I don't think I have. I can't find anything in there. As long as it passes the deflection test and it's not deliberately designed to flex, you're fine. But how do you prove it's not deliberately designed to flex? It's very tough, that. And yeah, some people will say, oh, it's not in the spirit of the sport. And to that I say, again, a load of rubbish. You know, that's not Formula One. It's never been Formula One, and it'll never be Formula One. Simple as that. We're starting to see the extremities being exploited again, and I think it's down to the FIA to decide, is that okay? In which everybody will pile in, or as per the regulations, the way it's written, does that comply? There is a large scatter of who's doing what now, obviously with a lot of interest in the McLaren rear wing after Baku, and there is performance in it. Of course there is. That is why everyone is chasing it, but it's just knowing what is reasonable and what is taking the urine. That's the direct quote there. And that's the thing, it's so hard to tell who is deliberately doing this and who isn't. I mean, you might say that McLaren are deliberately doing it. I can't say they're not. I can't say they are either, but it is doing it. And how McLaren have modified this wing, I don't know. That is not really clear at this moment in time. According to the article, it is just a modification. We don't know what. And I'd also heard rumours that the passive DRS was not going to be on the wing for this race because it is a low-speed track. It only comes into play at high-speed track. And when does a low-speed track become a high-speed track? Would it be there for Kota? Possibly. They've got a very long straight there, so I don't know, guys. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what's actually happened with this. In terms of the actual performance advantage it gives McLaren, again, that's yet to be determined. Oscar Piastri did a very good job in keeping Charles Leclerc behind, though, at Azerbaijan. With that passive DRS not being there, maybe he wouldn't have been able to. It definitely would have been closer. There's no way it couldn't have been closer. But that's my kind of thoughts on it, guys. I'm not sure what's been done. I'm not sure if this is right, but I understand that it's very much opening Pandora's box if they don't do something. And I think if the FIA outright, I mean, but how do you ban it? When does a flex become deliberate? Again, it's just opening the can of worms, and there's no right or wrong answer here. But what McLaren have done, if they've done that, is admirable. But then again, it's like, how much is that going to change? Was it going to be on the car anyway? How much of an effect would it have had? Well, we don't know. We don't know. You know, it's asking how long is a piece of string. It completely depends on the scenario. And without a test in effect, you know, a Singapore Grand Prix and then another Singapore Grand Prix, we don't know what the difference it makes. So yeah, I could go on about this for a long time, but basically something's been altered. The FA has had a quiet word in McLaren's ear and just be like, look guys, you know, let's not take this too far. And they've just kind of gone from there. So we'll see how it affects McLaren's performance. It'd be interesting to see if they don't win the race, or they struggle to keep ahead of cars, or struggle to pass. Well, again, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, but I'll be fascinated to see what happens. It is interesting the FA has done this, though. They've not changed the regulations, but they've said to McLaren, don't do that. Change your wing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And yeah, for much more F1 content, keep it tuned here to the Formula1Chronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell as well for much more motorsport content here on the F1Chronicle.com.